Do you need a healthcare plan that listens to you? Be assured, we've got you. For us, as always, this is about impacting lives. And to launch our journey into this exciting ground, we created Leadway Health as the partner you need. Leadway Health adds new dimensions to health insurance as you know it. The services are flexible and mobile. Now, let's talk about the plans. The Leadway Group Health Plan targets macro enterprises, corporates such as local and multinational companies, agencies, and other bodies. Take, for example, Rockwell Company, whose HR representative, Musa, wastes a big part of his work hours sorting billing issues. The Leadway Group Health Plan stops that and will ensure Musa, and by extension, Rockwell Company, will no longer have to worry about mix-ups and long conflict resolutions. Most of our health insurance plans come with baby wellness programs and multi-trip travel insurance with COVID-19 cover. In addition, we offer free employee assistance programs to keep employees out of the hospital. This includes added benefits that cover psychological consultations for insomnia, depression, and other conditions relating to mental wellness. This gesture also extends to free psychological evaluations during recruitment. Our onboarding process is seamless and stress-free for you to opt in, so you can keep track of your health and insurance status.
For more information and questions, call 01-280-1051 or visit our website at www.leadway.com. You can also send us an email at healthcare@leadway.com.
Invest in the peace of mind you deserve today, only with Leadway Health.
Is a consultant cardiologist specializing in the care of heart and cardiovascular diseases. He is a trained consultant physician at the University of Lagos Teaching Hospital, specializing in internal medicine and cardiology. He is a member of several national and international professional bodies, including the American College of Cardiology and the American Heart Association and the European Society of Cardiology. He is a published clinician, and he has also attended numerous courses and programs in the United States and Europe. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Okechukwu Usim, our speaker for today, in shedding some light about hypertension and why it's important to discuss this thief in the night and how can we prevent it from taking a hold of our lives. Dr. Okechukwu Usim. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Thank you so much for the warm welcome. Good afternoon, our viewers. You're all welcome to the this year's edition of the World Hypertension Day. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for joining us today, sir. Truly, today is World Hypertension Day, the 17th of May. But really, it's more than just today discussing hypertension. Hypertension is a very wild topic, but it's also a very, very important discussion, as it's one in 5 Nigerians are likely to have hypertension, and even all over the world, about 7.1 million deaths can be attributed to hypertension. So, sir, why is it really important that we discuss this topic, hypertension, and what really is hypertension?
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Bello. Hypertension, as far as I'm concerned, statistics of the WHO, is the commonest cause of death or mortality or morbidity. I'll just try and explain that. That is, if you look at anybody's health, the most likely reason why the person will have a disability of one form or the other or die before their own time is hypertension related. So it is said that in developing countries and as well as in advanced countries, there are 2/3 of all deaths are caused by cardiovascular deaths, and the prime risk factor for cardiovascular death is hypertension. So if you can eliminate hypertension or control hypertension, you are reducing two-thirds of all diseases and two-thirds of all deaths due to cardiovascular, and
Wow.
that's due to cardiovascular death. So cardiovascular
Wow.
deaths are deaths, arising from things like hypertension, looks like heart failure, heart attacks, and strokes. Strokes remain one of the most common cause of disability. You see a young man in his prime, he wakes up one morning, he can't walk. Or you see a young man who has just achieved so well, so many things, he simply dies in his death, in his sleep. Why? He died of a heart attack. And what's the prime reason? What's the primary cause of this? Is due to hypertension. So that's the main reason why we're discussing hypertension today. If we can stop, correct, and control this risk factor, you will set so many people free. You will give people back so many good health, so many good days of good health and good service to their family, to themselves, and to their countries. And you will ultimately have people living healthier lives and longer lives. That's the real issue, and that's the real reason why we won't stop talking about hypertension until we're sure everybody that can be saved from this menace of hypertension and cardiovascular disease and deaths has been saved. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir, for that introduction. Wow. So we can prevent two-thirds of deaths just from addressing this very, very important issue. I mean, that's a very, very large figure, and really we need to be more active in preventing hypertension and even managing hypertension for people that actually do have hypertension. I remember just about 2 months ago while I was working in one of the teaching hospitals in Nigeria, and a 30-year-old came in unconscious, not able to move his or her limb, having weakness in the part of the limb, and all because this person is an hypertensive that did not know that the person didn't know he was hypertensive, and now that person has a disability, and which would have affected his work, his family life, and even the expense in managing the condition, which is so much. And really, so it's what you said, really it's important if we can address it and to prevent it, to help reduce the prevalence of deaths from hypertension. um so sir, just okay, as a form of, how do we identify risk factors? There is the belief that just being a black person, so me as a person, Olamide Bello, I am at risk because I am a Nigerian, I am at risk of being hypertensive. Is that true? Is there any meaning to that? And is that really a risk factor for being hypertensive, sir?
Okay, thank you for that question. There are many risk factors for high blood pressure or hypertension, as we call it. Okay. Unfortunately, being a black person confers on you an automatic risk. So that means the black population, anywhere they are in the world, are more hypertensive compared with other races. So that means to say that black people, even if they are in Europe or if they are in America, they have the increased risk of becoming hypertension. So black race is definitely a risk factor. So that means you and I are genetically primed to become more and more likely to become hypertensive compared with other races. But that's not the end of the story. There's still a lot more we can do to make sure that this doesn't become the end of the story. Question, which is what can we do to mitigate this risk factor? So as I said, talking about the risk factors, okay, I will also want to I'll clarify again some issues and some terminologies very clearly here. Okay, hypertension itself, as I said earlier, is the most important risk factor for cardiovascular diseases and deaths. And I said earlier again that cardiovascular diseases and deaths are the commonest cause of death and mortality and morbidity anywhere in the world. So, in developing countries, of which Nigeria is a member, If you go to the Caribbeans, it's the same thing. If you go to Asia, it's the same thing. If you go to Europe, it's the same thing. Most of the causes of death and morbidity are cardiovascular diseases. Cardiovascular diseases, as I said earlier, are principally three: heart attacks, strokes, and heart failures. And I said the underlying prime of all this is the high blood pressure. Okay, so that means if you can control the high blood pressure, then we have a much healthier society. We can improve the lifespan of people. People are no more afraid. I have just too many people that wake up each day, and when they have an abnormal sensation in one part of their body, they are already dead scared of having a stroke. Obviously, it's right to be scared about that, but more importantly, you can take steps that will make sure you never. I mean, these things are far from you, far removed from you. So, what are the risk factors? What are the things that make people that predispose people to high blood pressure? We always say that high blood pressure is a multifactorial problem. That is to say that high blood pressure has multiple causes. There's no single cause of high blood pressure or hypertension. Okay, so this year's
Okay.
theme of the World Hypertension Day is basically to measure your blood pressure accurately. That means first you must identify what your blood pressure is and control it and live longer. But before I even talk about that, or before we go back to that, I'll go back to the question I was asked: the risk factors for high blood pressure. So the risk factors for the high blood pressure, as we've clearly said, black craze. The most other important thing is salt intake. If we take too much salt, especially Africans also have one of the highest salts in the diet, then we are already priming ourselves for hypertension. So salt intake is a big and important risk factor for hypertension, and you want to avoid that. Then a sedentary lifestyle. Some people don't exercise. We'll still talk about this later. People that sit most of the time, or they work from their seats, they work on their desks, they work on their computers, they do more of mental work, already predisposed to hypertension, unlike people that are more active, doing more physical activities.
Thank you, Dr. Usim. Sorry, Dr. Usim. Sorry, I think we lost him for a bit there. Sorry, I think we lost Dr. Usim for a bit, but he's trying to join back. Just as a quick recap of the key things he mentioned that hypertension, first of all, is high blood pressure, and that it's important that hypertension is the risk factor for the three main causes of cardiovascular deaths. Now, cardiovascular deaths account for two-thirds of deaths worldwide, and which include heart failure, as you mentioned, stroke, and heart attacks. Now, hypertension is the underlying risk factor for these three key diseases. And to prevent them, it's important that we be able to actually know these risk factors that would cause hypertension and be able to also prevent those risk factors. And even when we do have those risk factors, to be able to manage those risk factors as best as possible. As he also mentioned, he mentioned that being a Black person, so just being an African American, being an African, puts you at risk for hypertension. So wherever you go, you always have that underlying risk factor of I'm a Black person. Sadly, it's the situation. So as a Black person, you're at risk of being hypertensive. That's That's an unavoidable, a non-modifiable risk factor. Also, another key thing that he mentioned is salt intake, particularly for a risk factor. So those are modifiable risk factors. I'm sure he was getting to that when we talk about modifiable and non-modifiable risk factors. When you talk about non-modifiable risk factors, things you can't avoid. Okay, Dr. Usim is back. Welcome back, sir.
Thank you very much. Sorry, I had internet issues. I think the
No
network
problem,
was
sir.
had a
Well,
downtime.
yes, sir. We're glad you're back, sir.
Okay, good.
So, yes, sir, you were discussing about the risk factors, about salt and sedentary lifestyle. If you can just please go into those things a bit more, especially the modifiable risk factors. Sir, thank you very much, sir. Sadly, I'm sure this is part of the stressors dealing in Nigeria and having to deal with internet, internet factors. I'm sure that's actually a very key stressor in putting a person at risk for hypertension, sadly. But then I'm sure we would get Dr. Usim back shortly. Um, okay, so I was discussing about some of the things Dr. Usim talked about previously. He had talked about the non-modifiable risk factors, things you can't avoid, such as being a black person, your age, things in your family, for instance, that you can't avoid. Um, and then going to the modifiable risk factors, which are the things we're trying to particularly prevent. He mentioned salt intake particularly, which is a problem particularly for Nigerians, as we use a lot of salt. Something we don't even remember to consider as our salt intake is Maggi. That's all this Maggi and condiments that we add to our meals. So nobody's saying you should stop using it, but a there's a volume to be used, there's a quantity to be used, and we also need to be careful when something we don't consider when we talk about salt intake is fast foods, because we can't attest to how much salt is used, how much of these condiments are used. Also, the because most of these fast food meals are fried, it's not encouraged particularly. So it's best to reduce those saturated fats, such as oils, such as coconut oils, vegetable oils, those fried things generally, and even roasting your meals, smoking your meals as much as possible. You want to reduce that as much as possible, because that's a very key thing in terms of modifiable risk factor. He was also talking about sedentary lifestyle. He mentioned about how just even sitting down for long hours at your desk puts you at risk for hypertension, and how it's very important that we infuse those little things that we don't count as valuable forms of exercises, but they're actually key things that would help with increasing our fitness. And then even, for instance, with Leadway Health, how we have a weekend fitness program where if you join over the weekend, we have a 1 hour session where you can work out with a trained fitness expert. And we also have fitness groups that would help with if you need to lose weight, helping to control your diet. If you need a nutritional plan, if you need a diet plan, with Leadway Health, we do that. We provide that for our enrollees. So being on a Leadway Health plan, you get to access that, which is very key, so that you know, for instance, that you are at risk of being hypertensive. How can you control that? So we give you a meal plan that would help you with controlling and preventing that hypertension in the long run. And even if you're hypertensive, you can manage it in a very, very controlled. You can manage it in a controlled way where you're having blood pressures in the range of 120/70 for someone that used to probably even have a 160/100, which is very, very key. Sorry, we're still trying to reconnect with Dr. Usim. But I think we'll just start taking some of the questions pending when Dr. Usim is back. Also, it's very important to take note that the key things about um, measuring your blood pressure, which is very, because how would you even know you're hypertensive if you don't know your figures, if you don't know your numbers? Someone is asking, okay, what can be the reason for teenagers having high blood pressure? Now, there are several risk factors, as previously mentioned, but there's something key to take note of. There's something we call the primary and secondary hypertension. Okay, Dr. Osim is back. Okay. Hi, Dr. Osim. We're glad to have you
Thank you
back.
very much. Okay, good. Thank
Okay.
you.
Yes, sir. So you were discussing about risk factors generally in linked to hypertension, sir. If you can just recap that for us, sir. Thank you very much, sir. We're glad to have you back.
Okay, good. Okay, so I think okay. That's fine. So, as I said, of course, the race is important. The salt intake is important. The sedentary lifestyle is important. Lack of exercise, smoking, of course, excessive drinking. Of course, there are some things that you can't control, like age. It is said as people get older, the tendency for you to become hypertensive is there. The American Association will say that there's a 95% chance of you becoming hypertensive after the age of 45. So that means the prevalence of hypertension increases dramatically as people get older. Okay, so there are risk factors like previous history of maybe cardiovascular diseases in the family or in yourself can also be a risk factor for hypertension. I met you guys discussing a question about a teenager becoming hypertensive. Okay, so those are the
Yes, sir.
causes of
Someone asked that.
hypertension. Yeah, but I also said this. There's also what we call the primary hypertension, or what we call the essential hypertension, and we also have what we call the secondary hypertension. Secondary hypertension means that there's a specific illness, or a specific pathology, or a specific reason why the person developed hypertension. You remember what I said, that the first time that most people that develop hypertension develop it from a multiple of reasons, but there are specific instances where it's caused by a specific cause. And now those causes are what we call the secondary causes of hypertension. Anybody that has a kidney problem automatically will tend to have high blood pressure. Okay.
Oh,
Then
yes, sir.
anybody that have some hormonal issues, there's some hormonal problems that cause hypertension, like an excess of certain hormones that control uh, what they call the catecholamines. Those ones can also cause hypertension. When people have excesses of such hormones, then there's something we call congenital abnormalities. People are born with certain deformities in their hormonal systems, okay? And that also can lead to hypertension. So if you add these secondary causes then to the primary causes simply means you're not certain of the cause, but then a combination of lifestyle issues, genetic issues, and of course, other environmental issues will trigger the hypertension in such cases. So if you have a teenager who has hypertension, for example, one, this teenager can be having a secondary hypertension. That means some conditions the patient was born with might be present. So in anybody, generally speaking, who is less than 30 years, who presents with hypertension, we want to screen for those secondary causes or those specific causes of hypertension, like kidney problems, like hormonal issues, like congenital problems, to make sure those people don't have those specific problems. But generally speaking, the illnesses or the causes of hypertension from lifestyle issues, environmental issues like smoking, drinking, sedentary lifestyles tend to happen much later in life. So somebody a teenager having hypertension, as I said, you want to screen for the secondary causes. But I must also say, this teenager having hypertension is also still more likely to have a primary kind of hypertension than a secondary cause of hypertension. So you find out that the main reason why that teenager is having hypertension in many instances might be because of weight issues, might also be because of if parents that are hypertensive. That's usually a very common cause. When you see both parents are hypertensive, the tendency is that the teenager tends to become more hypersensitive at an earlier age. So all those are all influences that enhance hypertension in such young people. So a teenager having hypertension, screen for second causes, look for the primary causes, identify all the possible causes of hypertension in this young person, and address them, and the person should be okay.
Thank you very much, sir. That was very, very brilliant, sir. Sorry, sir. Just as an added question about risk factors, we were discussing about how stress might be a risk factor for hypertension. Is there any truth to that? I mean, even just having internet issues and being stressed about the problems in Nigeria, is that a risk factor for having hypertension, sir?
Stress in itself, okay, there's a mechanism through which stress, okay, can be a trigger or a risk factor for hypertension. Okay, we call it chronic autonomic hyperstimulation. Let me just explain this to you. um I'm going and I come across a lion. That's a stressful condition. I'm stressed because I'm trying to think of how I can escape from death from this lion. What will happen to me is that my heart starts to beat faster, isn't it? My heart beats faster because when you are under what you call a fear, if is an intense stress, your system secretes excess of catecholamines or adrenaline, to be on the short. Adrenaline will cause your heart to beat faster, will increase your blood pressure, and therefore your blood pressure is high. That increased heart rate, increased blood pressure, also gives you an increased strength that helps you to run or fight, of what you call fight or flight response. So you're going to run the lion with faster than usual, or you're going to have an additional strength to fight the lion. That's the typical thing. But now in a modern man, there are no lions, but what we have is deliverables, so to speak. So things that make people constantly under adrenaline influence. Okay. So sometimes they're waking up in the morning, their heart is already beating fast. How am I going to beat the traffic? That's already adrenaline. So we call it chronic autonomic hyperstimulation, can lead to excess levels of adrenaline or all those ones, and in a way will lead to increased basal heart rates and increased blood pressure. So stress in such ways can actually be a factor in the causation of blood pressure, but it's not the main thing that causes the blood pressure, but definitely adds to the blood pressure issues. Hmm? Dr. Bello? So that's basically how that happened. Dr.
Thank you,
Bello, I
sir.
think you're.
That was a very good, yes, that was a very good clarification. So it worsens the underlying baseline issue that the person already has, for instance. Well, that's very key. But then, I mean, that's also a very key preventive measure to take note of. Also, sir, is there, so now we've discussed about the risk factors, but is there a cure for hypertension? As of today, 17th May 2021, is there a cure for hypertension, sir?
Okay. Hypertension is not something we say we cure, but we say something that we can very easily control. Okay. So that takes me back to the one of the themes for this year's World Hypertension Day, which is control it. So hypertension is meant to be controlled. So if you control it, then you're safe. Okay. So that means to say that it is something you can do, and the way it is that it's an ongoing process. There's no permanent cure like malaria. I have malaria, I take Coartem, and I'm healed from that episode of malaria. Obviously, I can have another episode of malaria in the future, but for that particular time, I am free. Blood pressure isn't like that. Blood pressure is basically, as we said earlier, the whole system of changes in a person's life, in a person's body, and the pressure circulating within the system is too high. And because the pressure circulating in the patient's system is too high, it can lead to damages, okay, to the patient's internal organs. And what are the specific values we use? Now, depending on which side of the world you live in, the Americans will use the the specific values for the cutoff for hypertension as 130 over 80, and this was what they came up with since 2017. Okay, but the WHO and Africans we still use 140 over 90 as our cutoff. That means if blood pressures are constantly kept above this, then it can lead to damage to our internal organs. And unfortunately, there's no one medicine solution to this to say that there's one medicine I can take and I'll be permanently cured. It does not exist. So what hypertension basically needs to be done to control is to control hypertension. I take my medications maybe on a daily basis or any other time of kind of times, and it keeps my blood pressure well. Just like as I also tell people, every day there's no permanent cure for hunger. Every morning I eat breakfast. In fact, I might not eat only breakfast. I also try to eat lunch, and then by evening I eat something else. So you use
Yes,
it
sir.
to maintain the body in a good state of nourishment. So that's the same way the treatment of high blood pressure really is. You take some medicines or supplements or whatever it is on a daily basis to keep your blood pressure low. And we also try to say this, that the control of blood pressure is not just, as you said, permanent cure. So it consists of two major areas of care. So anybody that has high blood pressure should know that there are two things they must do. One are some lifestyle changes, and secondly are the medications. So lifestyle changes that must be adhered to is absolutely very important. It's absolutely very important. So the lifestyle changes are very similar to the risk factors. Okay, so the lifestyle changes will include one, instead of taking too much salt, you want to minimize your salt intake. So one of the advices we say is that never add salt to your food on the table. On the dining table, never add salt. If you must add any salt, it must be cooked salt done in the time in the process of preparing the food. And we also say don't use both salt and all the conditioners, all the condiments at the same time. Somebody's trying to prepare a stew like the typical African. Is use some salt to boil the meat. Is use some salt to add again to the stew. Then after that, you add some condiments as well. So that stew prepared that way has excess salt in it. Basically, what we advise is don't prepare salt with that. If we're going to use just the seasonings, then use only the seasoning for the meal. Then I don't add salt on top of that. That way, you're minimizing your salt intake. That's number one. Then number two is regular exercise. So regular exercise, um, at least 30 minutes of exercise, preferably aerobic, is important to control to keep your blood pressure normal. So whether you're hypertensive or not, you should aim to at least prevent hypertension by trying to do some exercise on a regular basis. And I always say that you don't have to go outside to do 30 minutes of exercise. Right in the comfort of your room, in these COVID times, there are many exercises you can get to exercise yourself. There are many
True.
apps, okay? Download an app, fitness app, okay. There are many, we have many apps there. One of them is from the American Heart Association. It's called my cardiac coach. Okay, so my cardiac coach simply outlines a series of exercises you can do and helps you monitor yourself to make sure that you reach your goals. So I decide each time I wake up every morning, I'm going to either skip 100 times or do any 5 sets of activities or run on a treadmill for 20 minutes. So I have a program. I have a program I run. So and I keep to that program, and that's fine. You can discuss that with your doctors if you have. I mean that would be a fantastic way to do. So discuss your regular activities. So you wake up in the morning. What you decide to do is skipping. That's fine. You decide to take a walk. That's fine. If you decide to jog, that's fine. If you decide to do some press ups, some push ups, some plank, some aerobic, some dancing. You wake up every morning and decide to take a dance of 15, 20 minutes, and that's fine. So that's exercise. So that's the second one. So we said salt intake. Second one, regular exercise. Then third one is fruits and vegetables. Okay, you want to eat as much fruits and vegetables as you can, and less of the carbs and the other fatty foods. Okay, so the more fruits and vegetables you eat, the better it is. So your breakfast can just be sliced apple and watermelon. No, but don't go and say and okay. Then that's the whole idea. The whole lunch can be maybe the usual swallow, but as little as possible with more of fruits and vegetables. So the veggies, the more the vegetables, the more the fruits, the more the greens, the more the colors, the better it is. Okay. Then if you're smoking, you have to stop immediately. Smoking is the fastest way to burn up or to fry up your arteries and lead to heart attacks and the other ones. And if you are drinking too much of alcohol, please stop. Okay, please stop. So if you implement this, you have done well. And of course, if you're overweight, you need to implement ways to drop some weight. Okay, of course that's still something we still talk about. But if you're overweight, you need to drop some weight. Ones are the bulk of the lifestyle modifications to control the blood pressure. On the other hand, we have medications which we give, which tends to be daily medications, either once a day or some kind of regimen in the daytime. BP is not what you do for 1 month and stop. Say my doctor gave me medicine for 1 month, and after 1 month I didn't go back again. Please, you're not doing yourself a favor. Do what it takes to keep yourself healthy. Okay. If taking your medicines every day like a supplement while you eat your breakfast or while you eat your dinner will keep you living long, then that's great. I always tell my patient this example. I have a lady, she's currently 92 years old, 92. She's been taking medication since 1967, and she's very elegant. Each time she
Wow,
walks into
that's
the
before I
place,
was born.
you will know that she's healthy. Okay,
Wow.
she's on
Wow.
multiple medications, and then she will tell me all the professors that have been before me who took care of her. Okay, and I'm
Wow.
only happy that in the last 7 to 8 years I have been her doctor. Okay, she has had, of course, 1 or 2 issues, but then she's very healthy. She is very healthy. 92, still strong, still going. She takes all her medications very, very religiously. I mean, she never misses those medicines. And then she's as strong as you can think of. I mean, that's what that. So when people say that are they going to take it for the rest of their lives, I just remember this lady. In fact, I have 2 years ago she did her 90th. When she did her 90th, she had a very big book or whatever it is they did for her. And I keep it in my office. That's my patient. I mean, that's a woman
Yeah.
that took care of herself. She knew she had a problem. She identified it, took her medications, and today I can always be proud of her and say that with her medicines, she's absolutely okay. So that's what it is. BP is meant to be controlled. Thank you, Dr. Bilal.
Thank you very, very much, sir. Wow,
So
thumbs up
thank you
to
so much.
Mama at 92. Sorry, Dr.
Oh,
Usim.
please, thank you. I'll let her know.
Thank you very much, sir.
Yes.
So yes, sir, I just wanted to add, you mentioned that the key things about lifestyle modification. You mentioned about salt intake, fruits and infusing more fruits and vegetables, also exercising aerobics. Just those little things that we think don't count, but are very, very key in helping to manage hypertension. Another important thing which I discussed earlier is how from so our Leadway Health enrollees we offer nutritional plans. So for those that are particularly that are hypertensive, we offer them nutritional plans so that we can help with monitoring their diet. For those that don't know what their diet should be composed of, we help them, we guide them with a proper nutritionist to help them to manage their diet as much as possible. Also, they can also join our fitness programs. So our Leadway Health enrollees have access to our fitness programs, our weekend fitness programs, where even from this COVID era, you can just join us virtually and take part in exercises on our on over the weekend. So every Saturday we have that for our release. where you can join virtually, and there's a fitness instructor that's going to help you out in exercising, and even um, also in dancing. Also, I mean, dance is another key thing we don't even see as a form of exercise, but that's a very, very key thing to exercising also and getting that fitness into our work life. You mentioned about drugs also, in helping to manage hypertension. Also, we make sure to that all our hypertensive patients get their drugs delivered to them. So we ensure that if you're hypertensive, once we know that you're hypertensive, you get your drugs delivered to you, just to ensure that you're using your drugs regularly, and we can keep a daily track on you that are you using your drug, and to keep encouraging you to use your drug. So we ensure that they get their drugs delivered to them at home, or even to their workplaces, whichever is much more convenient for them. So that's a very key thing I wanted to mention, sir. I think we should start taking. So I wanted to, in this 21st century, sir, are there key things that you would advise that are there ways you would advise we infuse some of these things in our work communities? What can we do, as because we tend to spend almost 70% of our time at work. We're at work Mondays to Fridays, and then even weekends we're working on the go. So how do you feel we can infuse these key preventive um, programs into our work to ensure that we find that balance in ensuring that we're doing our work, but then we're ensuring that our health is also a very key priority, sir? If you can just give us some tips that you would encourage us to infuse into our work life.
Thank you very much. That's a very, very important question. Thank you so much. Okay, so as you said and rightly said, the workplace is where we spend most of our daytime at. Okay, we are actually at workplace. Apart from these COVID times, most of the times, most of our daytime, the time when we should really be up, we're at workplace. So making us fit at our workplace is critical, and also for many people, the workplace is also the place where they are most sedentary. So there are a number of strategies, or programs, or plans that various workplaces have implemented depending on the kind of work they do. So I'll just try to run through a few of them. Okay, so one of them is, for example, mandating that staff, okay, to example, have a pedometer. Pedometer is something that counts your steps. So if you have a work area and your staffs are really free to move around, you do a competition whereby people that wear pedometer and they can consistently log in more than 10,000 steps per day on their work days are rewarded, then that's already a motivation for them to be active and not to be sedentary. That's one. Then another thing people do, or which we also recommend, is to have a workplace gym. Okay, somebody is working in his place at the end of work, maybe like 3 p.m. or 4 p.m. He simply goes to the gym in the office area and does some degree of workouts, which is a very, very fun way to distress and a very fun way to participate, to join your colleagues in making sure that you build a healthy life. So that's another method. Then other things are quite important, like the way these people sit and the hours people are required to sit down to work. So most importantly, implementing some work rules or work not necessary rules. I mean, encourage, as I said, if you encourage people that, oh, if you do consistently more than 10,000 steps every day of the week for the whole month, I mean, you're keeping yourself healthy, you'll be more productive to us, and we will reward you for that. That's definitely a very good way to encourage staff to become more productive. So, work gyms in workplaces, trackers are important. Then sometimes you also get fitness instructors. I'm glad that Leadway Health already have that. So in various workplaces, be it at the banks, be it at some places, get some fitness instructors that come from time to time, speak to the staff on how to keep healthy, and also motivate them on how to utilize some of the fitness equipments the company might have purchased for their use within the facilities of the company. And generally speaking, I've seen some oil companies who actually usually encourage people to work, and then that's and then reward them for that. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Usim. That's very key. I mean, even the little things about taking the stairs rather than taking the elevator. Why not just take the stairs when you're going to work? Or if you're even, if your workplace is like 20 minutes from your house, why not walk to work or cycle to work? That might be another key into infusing some form of exercise in your work-life balance. I just wanted to mention that Leadway Health is a fully accredited HMO by the National Health Insurance Scheme. You can check us up. We're HMO 90 under the National NHIS, for the person that asked. So I think we should start taking some of the questions. Also, I wanted to mention that you were talking about using trackers. With your Leadway Health app, you can actually track how many steps you're taking per day. So if you're an active user of your Leadway Health app, you can actually track how many steps you're taking per day. And then we actually have rewards for those that take over 10,000 steps per day, for our enrollees that take over 10,000 steps per day. So please make sure that you're using your app appropriately. So we'll just take some of the questions. Someone was asking, okay, we've talked about lifestyle generally. Someone asked about having plans for teenagers. Yes, we definitely have plans for teenagers. So if you're an individual that you want to sign up for a plan, you can definitely reach out to us at www.healthcare@leadway.com, and we would you can reach out to us at healthcare@leadway.com, and we would link you to our different plans. Sorry, someone asked, we've discussed about salt. So, okay, someone is asking, when is alcohol too much, sir?
Alcohol too much. Thank you. Generally speaking, if you have to take, of course, you don't have to wait till you are drunk before you know alcohol is too much. That's one. That one is already excess. So the recommended alcohol levels, I would just say like that. It'd be like a glass of red wine. Okay, a glass of red wine might just be okay for the average person. So when there's alcohol too much, anything more than a glass of red wine, generally speaking, we don't encourage people to drink at all. But if they must drink, no more than a glass of red wine or a bottle of beer in a day or a shot of whiskey in a week. I think that's just a bit, not just to be candid. So a bottle of beer in a week, a shot of whiskey in a week, or a glass of red wine on a daily basis, and then that's fine. A glass of red wine on a daily basis, if I must just try to, the average red wine shouldn't be more than this cup. I mean, so a glass of red wine a day is just okay. And then if you have to take, if you are the one that takes the Hennessy and all those ones that are hard, not more than a shot in a week. I mean, it's not something, just something you should do socially, and not something you should do on a habitual basis. Anything more than that is definitely too much. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. So a shot of NSC or a glass of red wine, that's the maximum per day that's encouraged. Okay, people asking about our plans. You can go to www.leadwayhealth.com to check out our different plans for those that are interested in finding an appropriate plan for them. Okay, someone is asking, is the fitness exercise online? Yes, definitely. So on Saturdays we have fitness programs every Saturday, once every month. So we have that. So you can join us through our different social media handles for our Saturday fitness programs. Someone was asking, you can also, if you don't want to go to the website to ask about the different Leadway health plans, you can just reach out to us through our social media handles. Just send us a DM, and then we would provide an appropriate response immediately. You can reach out to us at Leadway Assurance if you have if you want to clarify about a plan and you don't want to use the website. You can reach out to us at Leadway Assurance using Twitter, using Facebook, using Instagram, and even using LinkedIn. So someone was asking, okay, someone wanted to clarify for the glass or shot, is there a specific volume? So in meals, I think the person is trying to say in meals, what would you encourage for those that want to take alcohol?
Okay, if you are still on this, as I said, alcohol is always a big issue. This, you see this one, these disposable cups, the small one, not the big one though. Don't go and take the big one. The Nigerians have manufactured the big one. Please, is this small one I'm holding? Okay, this is the wine cup. Okay, the shots that we talk about is usually about at best 10 meals. Okay, okay, so that's 10 meals. It's like a third of this. Okay, just not those tiny cups. It's already manufactured for alcohol. That's the one you want to. You don't want to go more than that for the for the brandies. Okay, the brandies are really very concentrated. So the brandies are the ones that have 40% and above. The wines usually will have about 10% at max, 13-14% of alcohol, and then the beers and the other ones we tend to have just like 3 or 4%. So that one you can take a bottle in a week, not more than that. So for wines you want to take this cup, the level of this cup. Then for brandies you want to take a third of that, or just those small tiny shots. um, we all, people that take it know those shots exist and they know those cups exist. One of it is enough in a week. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir, and thank you for the clarification. For those, sorry, someone was asking about fitness centers. Yes, definitely. If you're on a Leadway health plan, you definitely have access to fitness centers. So you can always reach out to us, and we would give you the list of fitness centers, especially one that is close to your vicinity, and you'll be able to start getting in that fitness into your into your work life and ensuring that you keep hypertension at bay. Dr. Usim, I have this question actually. I remember sometime last year, my dad forwarded me this WhatsApp broadcast that he had seen about how if you're over 50, you should start taking aspirin, especially if you have a family history of hypertension, if you're at risk of hypertension. So I wanted to find out, is there any truth to this really? Because we see some of these messages on WhatsApp. You should take low dose aspirin, especially if you're 50 and above. Is there really any truth to this in reducing your risk of being hypertensive in the long run, sir? Or it's just some WhatsApp university story, sir?
Okay, thank you very much for that question. I think it's more of WhatsApp noise. Okay, uh, everybody is talking in WhatsApp. But let me clarify the position of aspirin. Aspirin is an anticoagulatant. It prevents clots. Okay, so a little dose of aspirin taken can be useful in moderate to high risk individuals. What are these moderate to high risk individuals? These are individuals who already have a history of cardiovascular disease, people who are already likely to have events like stroke or heart attacks. How do you identify such people? They have multiple risk factors. They might be hypertensive, they might be diabetic, they might have high cholesterol. Because they have more than three risk factors, it makes them a high risk person to catch, to have cardiovascular diseases. So because of such, we give such people aspirin to prevent strokes and heart attacks in such individuals whom we have deemed, whom we have assessed, and we have deemed that they have high risk. That means they are high risk individuals who are going to have that. Aspirin has its own side effects. So that means if somebody is not deemed to have a high risk or a moderate risk for as for his cardiovascular status, then he should not take aspirin. He should not take aspirin. Only people at high risk for cardiovascular events should take aspirin as prevention. So the best thing is to discuss with your doctor, go for a health screen, and the health screen basically will check your blood pressure to know your numbers in terms of your blood pressure, your blood sugar to make sure you're not diabetic, your cholesterol, your weight, your BMI, and by the time they do this, they're able to do a risk stratification. They'll be able to tell you, are you a high risk person or you're a low risk person? If you're a high risk person, then you should use aspirin for the prevention of strokes and heart attacks. If you're a moderate or low risk person, lifestyle measures are sufficient, all you need to do. So aspirin is not for everybody. It's for a certain group of people whom we identify as high risk individuals who need to prevent strokes and heart attacks. That's what we should do. And also, we should also remember this. Um, we also say that hypertension, we call hypertension a thief in the night. Okay? And that's because many people can be hypertensive and they're not aware. Okay? And it can lead to many complications before they are aware. So therefore, whatever the case might be, we should always endeavor to check our blood pressure. The theme for this year's and for this meeting is that measure your pressure accurately. The only reason why while the hypertension will cause harm in many people is because they are not checking. So please, every now and then, maybe at least 2 or 3 times in a year, make sure your blood pressure is checked, okay, and checked properly. So go to a clinic or go to your provider, let them check your blood pressure and see what it is. If it is high, control it. That way you live a longer and healthier life. Okay? Aspirin
Yes,
is
sir.
for people, as I said, if you've checked all the numbers, you must check your numbers. So you check your pressures, you check your sugar, you check your cholesterol, you check your weight and height, you check your BMI. After you know all the numbers, we'll classify you as high risk or high risk. High risk individuals should go on aspirin. Other people should do as they are, should do more of a lifestyle. Thank you, Dr. William.
Thank you, Dr. Usim. That's very, as you mentioned about annual health checks, going for your health checks. I mean, that's part of the things we take very, very, it's very important here at Leadway Health. So we ensure that all our enrollees make sure that they go for their annual health screening. We pre-book them and ensure that they also get follow-up care if there are any abnormalities detected from that annual health screening. So that's an advantage of using Leadway Health. You get your annual health screening and you find a provider just very close to you. So because people are always bothered, they can't find a hospital close to their vicinity. So we find you somewhere close to your house and you can always go for that, your annual health screening on a regular basis. Sorry, so someone was asking. Okay, someone asked, just in case, what are the symptoms one may see and should start getting worried for high blood pressure? Dr. Usim previously already mentioned about how hypertension is a silent killer and how most people don't have symptoms. But when they do have symptoms, I think this person is trying to clarify what symptoms are you likely to see for someone that is hypertensive. I think that's what the person is trying to clarify. So.
Okay, so you don't want to wait for symptoms. Symptoms usually means that things have gone bad. So please don't wait till you have any symptoms. Go. The message here is that check regularly when you don't have symptoms. Don't wait till you have symptoms. Please, I can't say that more. I can't more than emphasize that. It's a silent killer means that it doesn't show any symptoms most of the time. So by the time it's showing symptoms, the organs have been damaged already. It's a bit too late. You don't want to wait till that. So the symptoms are the symptoms of organ damage. The person is either the kidneys have been damaged or the heart has been damaged. And one of the things that happens when people's heart are damaged, they get very weak. They can't walk from 100 meters without panting. Okay, their the legs might begin to swell, their abdomen might begin to swell, they might begin to cough. They lose strength. They become very easily tired and sometimes the symptoms vary. Hypertension also can cause headaches. So in the few lucky ones, sometimes at the early stage they might begin to have headaches, and that's where they know that their blood pressure has gone high. So in that case, they control it quickly. So please, hypertension is a silent killer. That's what we said it is. So many of the sudden deaths we find in our environment, I'm sorry to say, 90% of the sudden death, somebody went to bed and didn't wake up the next morning. Most times is heart related. Period. That's why somebody is healthy in the morning and by evening they are no more. Why? These things happen silently. So if you take your time to check your blood pressure, to check all your numbers and make sure they are fine, and if they are not fine, please control it. That's the message. Control it. Make sure you take care of it. Make sure, please, you take care of it. That's the wise thing to do. Don't say, my grandfather did that one did not do that one, or this one, and that one did not happen. Please control it. Go to a medical specialist and control it, because that thing you're seeing, the blood pressure that is high, if you go to bed like that, something bad might happen. The heart might stop working. So the person's brain is still well. The person's hands are still okay. The person is looking very healthy, but the heart, which is inside, is gone, and the person will not wake up. So please, there are many reasons why people will suddenly go to work and slump, or somebody will be dancing in church, or dancing on the street, or walking on the street and suddenly slump, or somebody playing football and suddenly slump. Most of them are due to heart attacks, strokes, heart failures. All have their roots, as we said earlier, in hypertension. And that's why we've talked about this. That's what we started with, and that's what we'll end with. Please don't wait till the symptoms occur. Check yourself regularly. If your BP or any of your numbers is out of control, is higher than usual, control it. Control it. That way you live longer, happier, and because you live longer and happier, you also will be richer for it. Thank you.
Thank you very, very much, Dr. Usim. This has really been a heart-to-heart conversation about keeping the thief in the night away. Who is this thief? I mean, definitely, we've realized today from this discussion that the thief in the night is hypertension. And really, the only way we can avoid this thief in the night is by taking note of this preventive measures that we can implement in our lives, and also to take note that we need to know our numbers. You cannot prevent something you don't know about, so you definitely need to know your numbers. For those that want to reach out to us, you can always send us a DM at Leadway Assurance on our Facebook and our Instagram, or at Leadway Insure on our Twitter account. You can also send us a mail at healthcare@leadway.com, just to know more about our plans and to know what we offer as an organization in providing you the best care possible, ensuring that you know your numbers and you get the best quality of care 24/7. Thank you very, very much, Dr. Usim. I have learned so much. I'm sure all our attendees today have also learned so much about how important it is to value our numbers, to have this discussion, and to keep having this discussion. It doesn't end today, so we need to keep having this discussion, and we need to keep appraisal of this, the thief in the night, and how the thief in the night can come at any time. And it's very, very important that we prevent this thief. Thank you, Dr. Usim, for joining us today. Thank you for the knowledge imparted on us today, and we can't thank you enough. My name is Dr. Olamide Bele from Leadway Health. Thank you for joining us, and we hope that we've all been able to learn one or two key important things from this discussion. Thank you very much, sir. I hope we all have a lovely day, and we keep imbibing these preventive measures into our own lifestyle in general. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. All right.
Thank you, sir. We can't thank you enough, sir. Thank you, sir.
Do you need a healthcare plan that listens to you? Be assured, we've got you. For us, as always, this is about impacting lives. And to launch our journey into this exciting ground, we created Leadway Health as the partner you need. Leadway Health adds new dimensions to health insurance as you know it. The services are flexible and mobile. Now, let's talk about the plans. The Leadway Group Health Plan targets macro enterprises, corporates such as local and multinational companies, agencies, and other bodies. Take, for example, Rockwell Company, whose HR representative, Musa, wastes a big part of his work hours sorting billing issues. The Leadway Group Health Plan stops that and will ensure Musa, and by extension, Rockwell Company, will no longer have to worry about mix-ups and long conflict resolutions. Most of our health insurance plans come with baby wellness programs and multi-trip travel insurance with COVID-19 cover. In addition, we offer free employee assistance programs to keep employees out of the hospital. This includes added benefits that cover psychological consultations for insomnia, depression, and other conditions relating to mental wellness. This gesture also extends to free psychological evaluations during recruitment. Our onboarding process is seamless and stress-free for you to opt in, so you can keep track of your health and insurance status.
For more information and questions, call 01-280-1051 or visit our website at www.leadway.com. You can also send us an email at healthcare@leadway.com.
Invest in the peace of mind you deserve today, only with Leadway Health.